Hello, brothers and sisters. Welcome to the Needville United Methodist Church YouTube channel. This is our weekly Bible study with the pastor. We're going through the book of Psalms. This is the third week that we're doing it. We are in the 46th Psalm for today. I encourage you, if you haven't done so already, hit the subscribe button and the like button down below. Also, use that comment section as well. Let me know of a psalm that maybe you would like to talk about, or maybe a favorite psalm of yours, one that maybe has a lot of questions around it, that kind of thing. I'm looking for a couple more psalms to add to this Bible study, and I'd love to have your input on it as we go through it. So today we're going to look at the 46th Psalm, and we're going to talk about a couple of things. And we're going to take it stanza by stanza. Basically, there's 3 stanzas in this particular psalm. It is a song, as most psalms are, and this one is one about strength, right? This one is all about how God takes care of his people and having faith and hope in his strength, that he will do what he said he's going to do, that he is big enough and strong enough to be able to take care of all things, to hand everything over to him. So we're going to look at each stanza, and we're going to focus a little bit more on the third one, the last one, because I think it's the most important. But let's start at the very beginning. The first 3 verses is the first stanza of the psalm. And as you read through it, it talks about the fact that God is the stronghold when we face things that are not of man's making. In the first stanza, it's all about, it says, we will not fear though the earth should change, though the mountains shake in the heart of the sea. This is that whole natural phenomenon, natural disaster type idea. It's basically telling us that when things that are beyond our control, all right, happen, hurricanes, floods, earthquakes, fires, things that are beyond any human being's control or power. When those things happen, the psalmist wants us to understand that the only place that is safe, the only person that has any kind of power over it is God. The first verse says, God is our refuge and our strength, a very present help in trouble. We're talking about things that are beyond our control: earthquakes, floods, fires, that kind of thing. God is our refuge. He is our shelter, our safe space, right? That's what the psalmist wants us to understand, is that when we look around ourselves and find ourselves in peril, not because our enemies are surrounding us, not because of our own hands, but because of things that are so far beyond our control, we couldn't even fathom controlling them. They couldn't have come from us. They're just outside of us. The psalmist wants us to understand that he not only strengthens us to be able to endure, but he is also our refuge, our safe place, our shelter for the storm. When the storms of the world, not the storms of life, but the storms of the world, the physical manifestation of the storms happen, it says God is the one that is our shelter. So when that hurricane comes, and what I'm talking about is that it's not one of those things of, if you find yourself close to a Cat 5 hurricane, you sit tight and go, well, God's going to take care of me. We're talking about eternal here, right? God is the shelter and protection for my soul, not necessarily my body, which the hurricane may take from me, the fire may take from me, all that kind of stuff may take from me if I can't get out of the way of the storm or the fire or whatever it is that's causing the problem. But we have faith that God is the one that will give us the strength to move through and do what is needed in that storm or in that physical crisis. But he is the refuge of our souls. He protects our souls so that no matter what this world does to us, we are still protected. Now, the second stanza is about man-made things, right? God is in the midst of the city. It shall not be moved. God will help it when the morning dawns. The nations are in an uproar. The kingdoms totter. He utters his voice. The earth melts. The Lord of hosts is with us. This is about what man does. Now, they may be talking about nation versus nation, all right? They may be talking about, so it says the city of God. That was always interpreted as being Jerusalem, the holy city, right? So when they talk about this, they're like, okay, when the nations of the world come to our gates in war, when we are set upon by other humans, by other tribes and nations, our God will take care of us. This is the psalmist, right? And that's what the psalmist wants us to hear, is that, okay, the first stanza all about things that are completely beyond our control, weather and whatnot. This one is within the control of humans because it's humans that are causing it. A human that has chosen the path of violence or hatred or negativity of any kind. And as much as it talks about the city of God and all that kind of stuff, I think the psalmist wants us to understand that if he's going to take care of the city of God, if he's going to take care of the whole nation of Israel, he's going to take care of you in the same way. So when people set upon you, when your enemies surround you at every corner, when you feel like the knife is right at your throat, metaphorically speaking, right? God is there to take care of you. He is there to make sure that you have the strength to continue down the path you're supposed to continue down. But again, it's also not a statement of he's going to take care of everything in the sense that it's going to be gone. There are plenty of situations that are still going to persist. What he's going to give you is the strength to be able to endure them, and the refuge, just like in the first stanza, the refuge for your soul, that even if this world takes everything from you, including your life, the psalmist wants us to understand that it's still not the end, because God will take care of everything. The world can take as much as it can from you, but it can't take everything. It can't take your spirit, your soul. And if God is in control of the soul, then there's literally nothing else that the world can take from you, because whatever the world tries to take from you, as long as God has your soul, he can restore everything with a snap of his fingers, with the speech of his words. I love how in verse 6 it says that the nations are in an uproar, the kingdoms totter, he utters his voice and the earth melts, hearkening back to Genesis, right? The creation story. How did God create all things? He spoke them into being. God said, "Let there be light," and voila, there was light. God said, "Let the waters be separated from the land," and the waters were separated from. You know how the story works, right? Every day, different things, but every day it was the same story. God spoke, creation happened. The power of God's words created the cosmos. And the psalmist wants us to remember that. And he says, God utters his voice, the earth melts away. Because the only thing that's important is the eternal, not the temporal. Now, the final stanza is a statement about God, right? It's just a statement of saying, okay, look, we can say God's the refuge when the world is doing things, when the natural order of things is beyond our control and threatening us. We can say that God is in control and our refuge when man is the problem, when we have enemies at our gates, right? But the final stanza is the psalmist saying, but why can we do this? How do we know that God is this powerful? How do we know that God is this strong? How do we have this hope and not be fools in our hope? It says, come behold the works of the Lord. He makes wars cease to the end of the earth. He breaks the bow. He shatters the spear. He burns the shield with fire. This is a God who will utterly destroy every single army that comes up against him. You think of a bigger, badder force. God is better than it. Then he says, then he quotes God. He quotes the Old Testament. Be still and know that I am God. I am exalted among the nations. I am exalted in the earth. Now think about that. I am exalted among the nations, exalted in the earth. Think about how those first two stanzas work. The first stanza, natural disasters, right? Earthquakes, fires, floods, hurricanes, typhoons, tsunamis, all of it. I am exalted in the earth, in nature. I am exalted by my creation. I created all of it. I created the tsunami. I created the hurricane. Do you think that the creature can become greater than the creator? Of course not. So if God could create all of that natural stuff, then guess who's in charge of it? And we see that in the New Testament, don't we? Jesus walking on the water, being the natural phenomenon of human beings sinking in water. Jesus proves that wrong. Jesus standing up and calming the sea, calming the storm, right? That's a natural phenomenon. That wasn't Jesus talking to someone's heart or explaining away or logicking them into understanding. He speaks to a storm and says, be quiet. You're done. So I am exalted in the earth. And the second piece, I am exalted among the nations. I am exalted by, I'm over humans, right? He says, think about all of the despots that you think of, all the kings, presidents, every head of every nation that has claimed to be a god or so powerful. And God says, guess what? It pales in comparison to me. And the psalmist says the same thing. Look, there is the whole point of this psalm is to remind the reader, the listener, right? Because it's a song, to remind the listener that no matter what's going on in their lives, no matter where they find themselves, no matter what kind of peril they find themselves in, they need to have faith and hope because our God is bigger than all of it. Our God is our refuge and strength, a very present help in forms of trouble. No matter what that trouble may take, our God is our refuge and our strength. I hope and pray that when you're in that time of trial, no matter what that trial may look like or be, that you remember the 46th Psalm. Remember that our God is bigger than anything that comes into our world, anything that comes into our lives. And be glad and hopeful that our God, because he is that big, because he is that powerful, has promised to love us and take care of us. May God bless you until we meet again.